Today's tour is in Tel Aviv, and specifically right here in Rabin Square, named after our late Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. And stay with me and I share with you the events that happened in this square exactly 25 years ago this week, November 4th, 1995. Here you can see Rabin Square Memorial, City Hall. So it's on the crossing of Ben Gurion and Ibn Gabirol Street, Rabin Square, right in the heart of Tel Aviv. It says, words can kill. So we're going back in time 25 years to the year 1995. Back then Israel is led by the Labour Party, and the Prime Minister and Minister of Defense of Israel is Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Yitzhak Rabin is in his late 70s. This is his second term as Prime Minister of Israel. And Rabin decides to try and lead Israel, after all the many wars and conflicts we had, in a new path, a path to peace. And the next move he thought was appropriate for Israel would be to sign an agreement with our closer neighbors, the Palestinians. They signed the agreement in Oslo in Norway, and therefore they are called the Oslo Accords. The Oslo Agreement, what it really says is that Israel is going to start to reconcile with our Palestinian neighbors, hand over parts of the West Bank for Palestinian autonomy, and negotiate for final agreement later on. So this agreement with the Palestinian neighbors, the Oslo Accords, is received in two different ways by the Israelis. Pretty much split our nation into two. Half of the Israelis, they're ready for this peace agreement, and let's call them like the peace camp. But there's another half of Israel that are completely against. What they are blaming Rabin is that he is selling or handing over pieces of Israel to our enemies, and they are calling Rabin a traitor. Yitzhak Rabin was born in 1922 in Jerusalem, and he is our first native Israeli Prime Minister. He served in the IDF for 35 years and was the chief of staff during Israel's greatest victory, the Six-Day War. Then he served as Israel's ambassador in the United States, and then he was Prime Minister and Minister of Defense. He signed the peace treaty with Jordan and earned the Nobel Peace Prize. So I think it's fair to call him Mr. Israel himself. So the Labour Party and other parties and movements, that together they are referred as the Peace Camp, they decide to call a support rally in support of Rabin, in support of the peace process. The location that is chosen is right here, the Square of the Kings of Israel. It's a large plaza in front of Tel Aviv's town hall, where many outdoor events and gatherings take place. So in front of the square there is the town hall, the city hall of the city of Tel Aviv, and on the other side there is this monument which is called the Holocaust and Revival Monument. The artist is Yigal Tumarkin, famous Israeli artist. And this was the site that was chosen for the peace rally in November of 1995. So it's a Saturday night around 8 p.m. The rally starts. The plaza, the square, back then it's called the Square of the Kings of Israel, fills up with tens of thousands, maybe a couple of 100,000 people. They're all standing in the square. full, packed. And up there on the stage, we're above the fountain, all the politicians gather to make their speeches, and the rally is a great success. The singers, they sing wonderful songs about peace, and all the speakers, they talk about how great this opportunity is. And Rabin himself, he delivers his final speech of the evening, and he had this very deep voice, and he spoke very, very slowly. And basically what Rabin said was that, fellow Israelis, I have fought all the wars of Israel, served for all my life in the public life for this country, and have seen too many deaths, too much bloodshed, and too much sorrow. And I am telling you now, my friends, that it is time for a new path, a path for peace. And the people cheer, and Rabin thanks everyone. He has a big smile. And then the last song of the evening is sung. It's a very famous song. It's called the Song for Peace, Shir LaShalom. The rally's over, everyone goes home, and it's time for the politicians to step off the stage and go back to their vehicles. Let me show you what happened next. So around 9 p.m., 9:30, the rally ends, and the crowds start going back home. And there's the bridge that leads from where the stage was down this staircase to this courtyard here, which was back then was a parking lot. And the Prime Minister's limousine and all the cars were parked here, waiting for the Prime Minister and his delegation to get back in the car and drive out. On the path from there to here, Rabin was in high spirits. There's like the last footage of him is smiling and cheering and his big smile. Somewhere here, under the staircase, a person is waiting in the dark. This person, he's an Israeli. He's Jewish. He is in his late 20s. He is an Orthodox young man, law student. And at 9:40 p.m., this plaque shows everyone, Prime Minister, bodyguard, and number 10, the murderer. So you can see they're all standing, all the bodyguards, and number 10, the murderer, manages to squeeze his way through the bodyguards and point his gun at the back of the Prime Minister, and he fires 3 shots into the Prime Minister's back. 1, 2, 3. This happens exactly here. All these metal circles on the floor, they have numbers according to the numbers from the poster, and they show you exactly where everyone was standing. So right here is the place where the murderer was standing. It says murderer. And a meter away is where Yitzhak Rabin was standing. Look at the distance. Okay, pointed out his gun. 1, 2, 3. Prime Minister falls on the ground. Where these 3 bodyguards are is where the car is. They take him into the vehicle and drive away. And then chaos starts. People heard gunshots and they knew that something bad happened. And all the TV crews, they're running around with their cameras on their shoulders, like puffing and panting. You know how when something happens like live, but no one has an answer yet. And it takes a while until the first news, it was more like a rumor that someone was shot, and at first they think maybe it was Peres, then they say maybe it was Yitzhak Rabin. At first they think maybe he was just wounded. It takes about 45 minutes or an hour until things clear up, until there's an official announcement that Prime Minister and Minister of Defense Yitzhak Rabin was shot dead on Saturday night in Tel Aviv. Where were you when this happened?
on the way to Haifa.
On the way to Haifa in the
I
car?
heard in the news, yeah.
In the car?
Yeah.
And your reaction, like mine?
I was shocked. Yeah.
Shocked? Tears?
Yeah.
Like what's going on with our country?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's 25 years. Can you believe 25 years? Were you born then yet? No, you just, for you it's just like a story, huh?
Yeah,
You know what this felt like us? Like our hearts were ripped out, right? So
where are you from?
I'm actually from Israel, but I'm making a video for tourists that can't come. So I can put you in it, it's okay? Yeah, you too?
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, it's hard for me to describe the shock and the feelings of that night. I think everyone was shocked, both camps. I really truly believe that all those people that were opposing this peace process, they were not expecting this to happen and definitely did not approve of it. What happened was that those 3 shots completely changed our history. What we see here is the monument honoring, commemorating Yitzhak Rabin. It says here at this spot on Saturday, November 4th, 1995, Israel's Prime Minister and Minister of Defense, Yitzhak Rabin, was murdered. Peace shall be his legacy. So this weekend, Israel commemorates 25 years of the assassination of our Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. There will be a rally in the square, and school kids are invited to learn and educate themselves about Rabin, his heritage, and the search for peace. I hope you got value out of this video, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel and thumbs up if you liked this video. Take care and see you on our next tour.